Assalamualaikum and hello there. I'm Azmi Abadi bin Azman, and in today's video I'm going to present about all the environmental threats from aquaculture and all the environmental problems encountered by aquaculture. First of all, what is aquaculture? Aquaculture is an industry that encompasses the cultivation of aquatic plants and animals in controlled systems for commercial, recreation, or resource management purposes. As you can see below here, there are three figures which shows that aquaculture does not only takes place offshore, but it can also takes place on land surrounding by other environments and also in facilities such as hatcheries. Aquaculture growth. As years pass by, the population of our Earth increases, which leads to the increases in food demands. As this is where aquaculture industry shines, as it is an industry that produces food, fish mainly, which is a source of protein, vital for human growth. And to fulfill those demands, the industry requires an fully equipped facility with outstanding management. Why aquaculture and not captured fisheries? Well, to explain that, aquaculture has many more benefits compared to captured fisheries, and some of them are it is a cultivated activity which stocking density can be predicted, while as captured fisheries are hunting gathering activity which unpredictable stocking density. In aquaculture, we can control and know how many we can produce based on our input, unlike captured fisheries, which highly depends on what nature provides to them. Therefore, aquaculture has relatively high productivity compared to captured fisheries. Here are some environmental threats from aquaculture. First of all are genetics, water quality, ecology, health, and resources use and inputs. The first cause that can lead to threats in genetics are stocking enhancement. Basically, the purpose of stocking enhancement was to increase stock size of wild fish, but in this case, it leads to cannibalism because cultured fish lives in different environment compared to the wild fish, as therefore it will lead to the extinction of the wild fish. Next is exotics or GMO. GMO stands for genetic modified organisms. When GMOs are released to the environments, it could lead to genetic contamination and also the loss of biodiversity when the fish from cultured hatcheries breeds with the one from the wild. This is why in some cases we rarely see cultured fish being released into the wilds for only certain cases, but on some other hand, prawns are released to the wild for them to grow. Next is the usage of wild stock. The wild broodstock will lead to introgression. Introgression is the transfer of genetics of one species to another through hybridization and repeated backcrossing. This introgression may causes severe consequences such as the extinction of endemic species or the spread of transgenes. Same goes with escapes. But for escapes, it can cause an even bigger problem as it can lead to multiple issues such as fitness issues. The it has proven that the cultured species has higher reproduction rate compared to the ones on the wild, and also cultured species have more higher rates of survivability. Therefore, it can cause extinction for the fishes in the wild, loss of biodiversity because of the domination of cultured species on the wild species, and also the infections. Next is water quality. Aquaculture effluent contains organic and inorganic materials, which tends to increase load in the environments. Well, effluent is a liquid waste or sewage discharged into a river or the sea. This this effluent is mainly caused because some facilities has poor feeding strategies and also poor feeding feeds on their products, and therefore they release those effluents without filtering them, which is wrong considering the impacts it could lead. One of the impacts it could lead are eutrophication. Eutrophication is the excessive richness of nutrients. When eutrophication occurs, it will eventually leads to algal bloom, which is the rapid increased population of algae. And when this happens, it will eventually lead to pollution of the water body and finally mortality of the aquatic organisms living in them. When a water body contains high sediment loads, it will finally leads to the loss of habitats of aquatic organisms living in them because they have lost the ability to live healthily in this area before it was polluted. The next threat is ecology. Land modification will lead to habitat alteration of aquatic organisms. This is mainly because of shrimp culture, as mangrove forests are taken down to build facilities for shrimp culture. But little did they know, mangrove forest has many functions, and some of them are to mitigate erosion, maintain coastal water quality, provide breeding grounds for aquatic organisms, provide vital ecosystem services for people along the coast, and also storage for carbon dioxide. Imagine if all mangrove forests are taken down, where will the carbon dioxide be? Which is it will be in the air, and eventually it will cause global warming and the increasing temperature. Other than that, it provides breeding grounds for aquatic organisms. Imagine if they do not have breeding grounds, how can they reproduce? And if they do not reproduce, well, it will lead to the extinction of the wild species. The next one is salinization. Salinization also come close contact with the shrimp farm. As some at some point of shrimp cycle, they require a slight salty water for them to grow. And salinization may lead to species invasion, yield declines, eutrophication, like I said just now, and also marsh migration when the sea level rise forces tidal marshes into uplands. The next one is health. How does antibiotic resistance occur? Well, firstly, high number of bacteria. A few of them are resistant to antibiotics. Antibiotic kills bacteria causing the illness, as well as good bacteria protecting the body from infection. The resistant bacteria now have preferred conditions to grow and take over. Bacteria can even transfer their drug resistance to other bacteria, causing more and more problems. Well, this happens mainly because in some facilities they use chemical compounds without receiving any advice, and also the doses are self-determined, which is very, very, very wrong. Before using any chemical compounds, one should consult professional considering the impacts it may cause to the surrounding environments. As well, it also can be transferred to human by consuming fish from aquaculture products. Chemical usage leads to pollution, causes bioaccumulation in an organisms, which leads to toxicity. Like I said just now, before using any chemical compounds, one should consult professionals in aquaculture industry or a chemical professional, considering the impact it may cause to our consumers and even the environmentalists around them. It can cause bioaccumulation in an organisms such as humans. When we eat fishes with high bioaccumulation in them, then we can also be affected by the toxicity and even infections of bacteria. Escapes may lead to infections as well as disease, predation, extinction, and decrease in biodiversity. Just like I said just now. Resources, use, and inputs. Small pelagic fish are being caught and rendered as fish meal and fish oil to produce aquaculture feeds. Sustainability of wild organisms are not possible. Therefore, the industry should look for another alternative other than using pelagic fish to use to produce fish meal and fish oil and produce aquaculture feeds, as the sustainability of wild organisms are not possible. Next, wild stock also leads to depletion of wild fish population. Therefore, no reproduction in the wild as everything are used in the hatchery for production. In this case, they should not taken all of the wild seed stock. They should leave some in the wild so that they can reproduce and so that it will not go extinct. Aquaculture industry and water supply cannot be altered, as water is a major need in the aquaculture industry. Therefore, it is inevitable, but it causes low impacts on the environmental. Well, in aquaculture, mostly we use medium of water. We use water as a medium culture for our products. Therefore, it is very hard to run from the usage of water. Impossible, in other words. Next are threats from the environments to aquaculture. First is threats to culture species, threats to culture systems, and threats to aquaculture feasibility. First of all, threats to culture species. Water supply for aquaculture is the most important criteria for siting and location of farm units. Therefore, the water quality must be suitable for culture in several criteria such as dissolved oxygen, temperature, pH, low levels of nitrogenous compounds. If one of the criteria varies, it will affect our culture. As example, if the water temperature increases, it may cause a stress to our culture. And as we know, the higher water temperature, the lower the dissolved oxygen can be, and the lower of the water temperature, the higher dissolved oxygen it contains. Temperature and dissolved oxygen are difficult to regulate. Therefore, drastic change of temperature will lead to changes in respiration and metabolism. Therefore, cultures should spend more costs in order to have more control over dissolved oxygen and temperature. Therefore, if they do not take this into hand, then they will have many mortality as fishes can be stressed from the sudden change of temperatures and dissolved oxygens. Still in the same cultured species, pesticides, heavy metals, and organic compounds that are released in the environments are a threat to aquaculture organisms. These are results from human mismanagement and inappropriate use of disposal of waste, which will lead to bioaccumulation of fish or farmed fish through fish meals. It can also be passed to consumers, like the health just now. Therefore, the humans must have better management and appropriate use of disposal waste before throwing away their waste. They should filter that waste so that it will not affect the surroundings. It leads to parasite infections and disease to consumers through interactions between hosts, the pathogens, parasites, and the environments. Just like I said just now, if they do not filter the waste, then the other consumers might also be affected, as humans also goes fishing, and the wild fish they caught may also be infected by infections because they do not filter those water before releasing them to the environments. Climate change, flood both have advantages and disadvantages. Therefore, the use of effective modeling determines the industry's productivity. So each and every one of the facility should have a aquaculture professional so that they can determine and adapt to the situation. Next is threat to culture system. Mostly they are caused by natural disasters such as gales, hydrology, and substrate. It may also affect cage structure or destroy it entirely. And to overcome such disasters, the area's meteorology must be studied before building facilities. The facilities must have strong infrastructure to withstand such disasters so that it will not be cleared, so that it will not be destroyed easily. Because if not, then it will lead to major losses to the industry. Hydrology, climate change, and water levels change mostly will affect pen and cage culture. Therefore, they must have proper mooring lines, as well as culture system to adjust depending on the water level. Culture substrate also need to be identified as it can cause multiple issues. Depending on the site selection, several criteria such as ecological, biological, and economical factors should be considered. Before building any aquaculture facilities or project sites, one should consider the factors such as ecological, biological, and economical. Ecological, such as the environments, the water quality, the cultured species, is the biological, and from those factors, we should manage on eco. We should economicals is that how we can overcome those problems with the money we have. Last but not least are threats to aquaculture feasibility. Security and biosecurity of our products are the main. Poaching and predation are major issues, threats to aquaculture sustainability and industry's profit. The activity of poaching and predation may lead to these threats may be a threat to the aquaculture sustainability as when they do not have maximize their production, then how can they sell to maximize their profit? Therefore, they will lose both. Therefore, in other words, they should prevent those by fencing, curb poaching including robots with barbed wire to pick up the poaching nets, canine surveillance, natural barriers in the form of trees, as well as putting up nets over the pond's top to prevent entry of birds and other predators such as lizards. Externalities. An externality is a cost or benefit caused by a producer that is not financially incurred or received by that producer. Externalities related to aquaculture supports facilities such as feed manufacturing, economics of scale, foreign and local markets, policy and legal requirements, and allocation of space are among other factors. Other factors include policymakers, aquaculture entrepreneurs, and ancillary occupations. Legal issues relating to aquaculture development involve licensing, competing use of space, and local regulations pertaining to use of land and water surface. In other words, one should not take aquaculture industry lightly as they have to get permission for everything they have done, including the use of water, the land, and also the modification of everything. As if not, it can cause many impacts to to the community, to our businesses, and also to the surrounding environments. Therefore, before doing anything, they should consider each and every one of them. In conclusion, aquaculture in to succeed in aquaculture, the most important thing is about management. If one cannot manage the waste of the aquaculture, then it will impact the environments. And if they cannot manage to adapt to adapt the facilities according to the environments, then how can they maximize their productivity and profit? Therefore, they should have outstanding management, should have enough knowledge according to aquaculture, and should have mm, should have great management skills. That is all for today. Hope you understand and enjoy this video. Thank you.